make your raffia belt, you'll need some raffia yarn. This is Raw Raffia by Will and the Gang. This is a 4.5mm crochet hook and a belt buckle. I took this off of an old belt I got from the charity shop. So first thing to do is take your raffia yarn and start crocheting around the buckle here to basically join your belt together. So insert your hook under the straight edge of the buckle, wrap your yarn around the hook, and then work sort of a double crochet stitch basically. So yarn over and pull through both loops. And then we want to do 4 of those before the bit here in the middle of the buckle. So I've got 2, so under the belt buckle, pulling it around and pulling the yarn under both loops. 1, 2. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 1 more. Okay, and then we want to leave this where it is and start crocheting the other side of that bit of the buckle. So around like that, 1, and then we want to do another 4. And you can make these, do as many of these as to sort of fit the length of your buckle, and try and keep them, I think, even each side. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 more. So this is effectively your foundation chain really, and then you've got all the stitches along here to work into. So I'm going to turn a buckle over, chain 2, and then I'm going to work into the front loop only to give it sort of a nice shape and lots of flexibility to sort of bend around the body. We're only going to work into the front and back loops. So I'm going to insert my hook into the front loop. In fact, I'm going to yarn over first, insert into the front loop, yarn over again, and then to work a herringbone stitch, I'm going to pull this one straight through this loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. I'm going to repeat that all the way along. So yarn over into our front loop, pull up a loop, straight through the second loop, yarn over, pull through both. Yarn over, front loop, straight through the second loop on the hook, yarn over again and pull through the last 2. And then on this final stitch here, so I've got 1, 2, so the chain 2 counts as your first stitch, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So on this final stitch here, I'm just going to work under both loops for a bit of extra stability. So yarn over, through both loops, pull through, and through both. So that's our first row. I'm going to turn over again, and I'm going to do the same thing but in the back loops only. So the back loop is this part of each stitch, the back of the V's. So chain 2 again as my first stitch, and then repeat the herringbone in the back loops only. And again, the final one is in the top of my chain 2 from the previous row, and that one I'm just going to work under both loops. It's a little fiddly in the raffia yarn, but you will get the hang of it. So yarn over, pull through, oh, keep trying to do a treble, yarn straight through the next one, and then yarn over and pull through both. So these two are your repeats basically. So you repeat these 2 rows another 4 times, and then we'll do a couple of rows of twisted stitches. So yeah, repeat these 4 times. Okay, so this is your first herringbone section. So I'm I've done up to row 11. So row 12 we start a double treble twisted stitch, and we're back on a front loop only side. So we've been alternating front loop and back loop only. So to do your double treble twisted row, you're first going to chain 4. Which again counts as your first double treble stitch. And then we're going to yarn round hook twice, and then we're going to miss the first stitch and instead work into this 3rd stitch, or 2nd stitch I suppose, and again front loop only. So into that front loop, yarn round hook again and pull through, so you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn round hook again, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn round hook, next 2 loops, yarn round hook, last 2 loops. So then, because this is a twisted stitch, we're then going to work into the stitch we missed, but we're going to do it behind this stitch. So yarn round hook twice, and the easiest way I find to do this is to lean the whole thing forward so you can get to that stitch. So I've got my yarn round my hook twice. I'm just going to tighten it up on my fingers, and then into the front of that missed stitch, which is there. You can see it there, and then complete the rest of the double treble. So yarn round hook, pull through first 2 loops, yarn round hook, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn round hook, pull through last 2 loops. So that is your twisted stitch. So you can see where sort of the first stitch goes across the stitch you just worked at the front. Sort of looks like that. So repeat another 3 of those. So yarn round hook, miss the next stitch and work into the front of the one after it. And then we're going to do the same in the back, or the stitch we just missed, so into there. And that's another twisted stitch. So we've got 1 more of those to do, and then we finish with a regular double treble. So miss 1 and into the front. That part. And then into the missed one, to the front of the missed one. Okay, and we've got 1 stitch left, which is the top of our chain 2. So we're just going to work a regular double treble under both of the loops there. So there's our first chain, there's our second chain, so just under this one here, which is a little bit fiddly, especially when you're trying to record and look through the recording. There we go, and then yarn round hook, 1, 2, 3. That's our first row of twisted stitches. So then we turn our work, and following the pattern we're now going to work into the back loop only of all the stitches. So chain 4, and then yarn over twice, So this is our first stitch which we're going to miss, and this is the second stitch, so we're going to work into the back of there. And then again we're going to turn our work towards us, and you can see this in here is the missed stitch and this is the back loop. I'm going to pop my hook through there and work my double treble stitch. So I'm going to repeat the rest of this row in the back loops to match this current one. So I'm nearly at the end of this row, and I'm going to work my final stitch into my the top of my chain 4 from the beginning of the last round. So I've done my yarn over twice, and then this is the top of that stitch. I'm just going to work under both loops again. Oh, no, not quite. Okay, so that's it under both those loops there. Pull it through and then work my double treble stitch. So this is my pattern repeat basically. It should be about 15 centimetres in length. And then you're just going to repeat these 13 rows from row 2 up to the row 12, which is your second row of double trebles, to your desired belt length, and then I will show you the finishing touches. You want to end on one of these, so I'll come back once I've worked my belt to the right length minus about 10 centimetres for my final herringbone section, and all the details for this. The two sections are on my blog on my website, so you don't have to keep replaying the IGTV.